Hello there, welcome to another episode of the Allotment Dram. This is a series of short videos where we sit and talk about different whiskies in the surroundings of our North London allotments. And you join me today, as you can see, on a lovely sort of clear, sunny, blue sky. It's been an absolutely beautiful afternoon up here. A little bit chilly, but it is mid-December. What do you expect? Got on with a few sort of odd jobs here and there, and a little bit of tidying up and so on. But of course I am here to talk about whiskey and present to you today's Allotment Dram. So what is it, I hear you ask? Well, it's the Tamdhu, 15 years old today, and this is from Tamdhu, which is a Speyside distillery, and the 15 sits within quite a small core range from the distillery. There's a 12 years old, there's this 15 years old, and then there's an annual release which is called the batch strength. So number 5 of that has just been released. So we've got the 15 years old here, which is 46%, and with non-chill filtered as well, natural colour. So you see a really dark colour, but we'll come on to that again in a short while. But what can I tell you about Tamdhu? Well, it's one of these distilleries that was built right at the end of the Victorian era. There was a big sort of spate of distilleries getting built. It's a real boom time, the 1890s. So the late 1890s saw a lot of distilleries being built, particularly in Speyside. And then through one thing or another, thing called the Patterson crash, which, if you don't know what that is, look it up. And then of course the First World War and Second World War, that it meant that there was no other distilleries built really from that point, the 1890s, until the 1960s. So that's a big period of time. But Tamdhu is also it's owned by Ian MacLeod Distillers, who the ones really who have established it as a single malt brand. Really, before they took over, you couldn't really find Tamdhu other than in the realm of independent bottlers. It really was one that was there for the blenders, to go into different blends and so on. And Ian MacLeod in particular have focused on the sherry cask maturation. So they make the claim that they are the only distillery in Scotland that only uses Oloroso sherry casks for maturation. So, I certainly can't think of another one that uses only Oloroso. There's certainly some which use a very high proportion of sherry, but it will be Oloroso and maybe some Pedro Jimenez or some other types of sherry, somewhere like Glendronach, for example, and then they've got a very tiny percentage of other types of casks like bourbon or port. But to have somewhere that only uses Oloroso sherry casks is very rare, and as I say, can't really think. Somebody else, leave it in the comments, if you know of one. But so within this, there's only Oloroso sherry casks, and this is the first fill, so the first time the spirit has gone in, or refill, which is, it can be the second or the third time that the spirit's gone in, so combined together. But all seasoned with Oloroso sherry beforehand down in Jerez in Spain. And of course, not just one size either, there's actually 3 different sizes of casks. So the hogshead, which is 220 litres, or you've got the puncheon or butt, which are both 500 litres but slightly different shapes. So you've got the first fill, the refill, and then these different sizes all combined within this final whiskey. So without further ado, I think we should have a taste. And we mentioned the colour before, and look at this. Just deep amber. It's got almost like a russety brown. It's like autumn leaves, that sort of colour. Really deep, almost if you look at it in the bottle, almost like a mahogany type of colour. And say 46%. So let's have a smell. yeah, and you've got these big, bold flavors. I mean, certainly very nutty. It's like a sort of toasted almonds and walnuts in there. Then you've also got a lot of like caramel and toffee, and then dried fruits. I mean, an abundance of dried fruits, really. I mean, raisins, sultana. There's some candied orange peel in there as well. A good pinch of these baking spices as well, like cinnamon, allspice, maybe even a hint of clove or licorice, something like that. Let's have a taste. Again, the nose was big, bold and rich. It doesn't disappoint on the palate. It's really, again, full on. It's mouth coating, viscous, you know. It's got this wonderful, like, almost like golden syrup, brown sugar, caramel sort of feel. And then comes all this wonderful, like, juicy dried fruits, like these raisins. There's some currants in there as well, definitely sultana, like big juicy sultanas. And then this sort of a bit of this candied orange peel. Always these big sherry cask whiskies always make me think of this time of the year, you know, the festive period, Christmas. You know, it's really like liquid Christmas, this, you know, Christmas cake in a glass. I heard somebody describe, you know, these big sherry whiskies the other day, actually. Let's have another taste. It's so silky, velvety, you know, feels very luxurious. And just to accentuate that sort of Christmassy thing, you've got this hefty pinch of these spices, cinnamon, clove. There's possibly a bit of nutmeg in there as well. And then this sort of nutty qualities, just maybe nutty turning into slightly malty quality. But yeah, an absolutely wonderful whiskey, and you know, definitely one worth trying if you like this heavier style. You know, it's heavier, sort of richer sherried style. About 85 pounds a bottle, so you know, not too bad really. Particularly for the heavy sherry cask whiskies, they do carry a bit of a premium, because sherry casks are more expensive in the first place, so to buy for the distillery. But definitely, you know, really underrated, or maybe underrated is the wrong word, undiscovered distillery. You know, so urge you, definitely, you know, the quality of the spirit, you know, and the quality of the cask is shining through here. So yeah, absolutely delicious. And I think we'll leave it to that. You know, thanks for watching again. So from myself and the Tamdhu 15 years old, we will bid you farewell. I'll get on with a couple more jobs before it gets too dark and I have to go home. So, you know, as I say, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.